Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Khorne and the Vampire Counts. It's going to be Manfred von Baldstein facing off against SKARBRAND. Should be a good time for sure. Skulls for the Skull Throne. Certainly going to be plenty of skulls. I mean, the zombies got skulls, the vampires, but blood might be in a little bit of short supply over there, but we will see what we can do. As far as my build goes, frontline is going to be the Marauders of Khorne with dual weapons, and honestly, these guys have pretty good base leadership against the undead. They just, good values. Bonus versus infantry, cutting through zombies and skeletons and crypt ghouls. They will struggle very, very badly against Graveguard, but, aside from that, against everything else, I think for how cheap they are, well, it's not that they're cheap. They're a little bit expensive for a chaff unit, but they do well. We do also have double cultists. Now, I'm a huge fan of the double cultists in a ton of matchups. I think Khorne cultists are still very good because the only thing they need to do to charge up their summon, which Bloodletters are excellent against the Vampire Counts, because Bloodletters can come in, they can take apart Graveguard, they can cut through all the chaff infantry, and they're unbreakable, so it gives you this really solid presence. All they need to do is fight. Like, they charge up their summon if they're just in combat, which is great. So we got Marauders in the Sunset, and also the Bloodshine of Khorne. I'm a big fan of this, kind of mixing one of these bad boys in, because it is an anti-infantry armor-piercing machine, essentially. So a Graveguard is kind of the one thing I'm a little bit worried about here, so having this to help deal with Graveguard is quite nice. It heals in combat, and also gives a nice little AoE buff, which is melee attack and leadership, which is good, right? So these guys are going to be sitting at 77. Not terrible at all. Now, you might be asking, how are we going to be dealing with big threats? Well, the big man himself is here, and I actually really do like SKARBRAND more than Valkia and the other Khorne lords against the Vampire Counts. The reason being is that he is an absolute monster if he can rampage those characters. So when the Vampire Count players get really cheeky, they jump in there, try and, cycle charge you. If you manage to hit them once or twice, or they're already a little bit injured, you can pop the Rage Embodied. It will rampage them, and he basically just kills them from there. It's brutal. We do also have Slaughter and Carnage. I like this one against vampires because it gives you something to do while they're flying up in the skies. You could just kind of beat on zombies and skeletons and farm kills, which gives SKARBRAND a permanent weapon buff, which is really cool. Marauder Horsemen of Khorne, MVP in this match. You have to have them. They deal with Crypt Horrors, they help deal with Mortises, they kill SEMs with their throwing axes, and if they get chased by, let's say some Direwolves or something, they can turn around and run them down with their 44 melee attack and their bonus versus infantry. So I think they're pretty huge. So for Hatries, going to be coming in with zombies and zombies and zombies with the Necromancer, the Forbidden Rods, which recently got nerfed. They're not quite as good as they once were, but probably still will be a staple for vampires. Although, time will tell. Vampire counts are sitting at about, 55, 56% win rate? So they're not in the 60s like they were pre-nerf. So I think Creative Assembly did a good job, kind of bringing them to the balance of the other factions. Up in the sky, we do have Manfred and a Goose looking to get a big 2v1 on SKARBRAND. And, if they can get good breath attacks and Manfred can Spirit Leech SKARBRAND and get a 2v1 on him, I could potentially get kind of a, little bit of trouble in that duel. So Throwing Axes, able to get some good firepower into the Dire Pack, which does overchase them a little bit. They did also get Throwing Axe volleys into the Necromancer. Here we're on the Proving Grounds, by the way, one of our Total Tavern tournament map packs. So yeah, definitely a cool map. I like it. It's it has random weather. A lot of the maps do, obviously. So this one is going to be the darker of the spawns. So Zombie Summon coming down, trying to target my advance a little bit, maybe blob me up for a Winds of Death, who knows. Winds of Death on Manfred is very common, but that's why I like to go with cheaper troops. If you come in with Exalted Bloodletters and Elite units, those Winds of Death really hurt. Typically, I do have Exalted Bloodletters. I actually have 2 of them in a reserve, but I'm going to bring them out a little bit later, obviously, to wait for the Winds of Death to go down. So Breath Attack and Winds right there is going to be pretty brutal, but we do get the Motorcycle of Khorne getting in there, and, we're going to focus fire the Sternsman pretty heavily. Nice Winds of Death there from Hatries. Granted, it's only a 500 gold unit, so it's not that bad. And we do have the double Cultist on top of the Sternsman with the Blood Shrine here. So the elite Vampire Count infantry unit should get focused down pretty quickly between all those different units. So it looks like there's a breath attack attempt on SKARBRAND, who's just kind of juking back and forth. No, actually going to be a Gaze of Nagash, which does some okay damage. He's down to about 800. And now SKARBRAND's going to start farming some skulls for the Skull Throne as he literally just stomps on one of the Sternsmen there. And let's just take a moment, forget all the tactics, forget all the gameplay and analysis. Let's just watch SKARBRAND just absolutely karate kicking zombies and skeletons because it looks cool. But his weapon strength is increasing as he gets kills in the backfield. We do see the Direwolves try and shut down my missiles, but I do detach one of them to attack the Direwolves head on. And with their big charge bonus and their bonus versus infantry and high weapon strength, they're actually able to kill those Direwolves pretty effectively. Meanwhile, the grind fight is going very well. The Blood Shrine is increasing the leadership of nearby units, and they're able to trade. And it looks like a breath attack attempt on SKARBRAND. I do use Rage Embodied, but I didn't quite get the Terrorgeist below 80%, so we didn't rampage. I was so bummed. I was like, that was going to be a kill right there. So we'll be back for round 2 later, man. We'll be keeping tabs. Now, as far as my reinforcements go, I do summon in a Fleshhound here, just sitting into the back, waiting for the Dire Pack to come in or some other backline threat to try and shut down my Throwing Axes. Throwing Axes of Khorne are just so awesome, dude. One of my favorite units to use, these Marauder Horsemen. just kind of their dual purpose. So we do a big alpha strike. We decide to charge in because I do have Marauder support. The Fleshhound's also going to hammer into the Dire Pack, and we should be able to win that fight pretty decisively. As far as the frontline fighting goes, one of my Marauders still fighting. One of them does get buckled in the middle, but now we're going to be summoning out Bloodletter. So this is where it gets really scary, right? We get an 800 gold, amazing anti-infantry unit to push my opponent's forces off the objective and to buffer my single entity models. So overall, it's going quite well. Now, as far as value trading goes, it is 38 to 23, but remember, vampire counts have healing, so they're going to be healing through a lot of that. So in order to really, try and close out this game, essentially, I need to get some good picks. Now, I do have a double cap, vampire counts, zombies, and a necromancer just with the Forbidden Rod. We get some Blood Knights moving in on the side, so Blood Knight's going to be looking to hammer through my hounds and kind of flank defending units. As far as my reinforcements, I got the Minotaurs with great weapons, so I figured some cavalry or big threats would be on their way in, and Khorne Minotaurs with great weapons are awesome. Their 70 armor mitigates a lot of the damage Blood Knights do. Now, if they head-on charge one another, I'm pretty sure the Minotaurs would lose, but if I can use these as like a supplementary unit, it's going to be quite a bit nicer. So I just take a full charge here. I just throw all my trash at these Blood Knights. I'm like, screw it, man. Let's get the Horsemen in there. Let's get the Fleshhounds. See what damage we can do. The other Horsemen going to be moving in, which is a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. It blobbed up, so if there had been a Winds of Death, granted, that's pretty easy to dodge. But the Minotaurs are going to be coming in. And guys, nobody expects the dreaded Sword of Khorne on top of the Blood Knights. So here it comes. Blood for the Blood God as a huge sword comes down and hammers those Blood Knights into the Shadow Realm. Horsemen are going to be pulling back. Minotaurs of Khorne moving in to kind of replace them. On the far side objective, we do have the Marauders holding the point, and in the middle, it's looking like it's pretty decisive as the two cultists are able to cleave through the Necromancer here, so they're getting a little bit of action for the Blood God. Slightly vulnerable to being killed potentially, like Manfred could go down there, but that's what's so cool about SKARBRAND is he's so fast and his mass is so good that if they land for a second and they get rampaged by him, like I said, you're gonna pay the troll toll. And Manfred is like maybe one hit away from being rampaged. Like if he gets whacked once and then Rage Embodied goes, he's done for. So the Hounds try and flank on the other side, but once again, the Khorne Marauder Horsemen being an excellent tool here as we do get the Bloodshrine scooting over there and doing some solid work. So at this point, Vampires are looking pretty far behind, 7,000 to 4. With healing being taken into account might be a little bit better, but Manfred finally gets impatient and does jump down here, but the big boy's coming in! And the Rampage is going to be getting popped in just a second as SKARBRAND is going to be having a big duel with the Zombie Dragon. But Zombie Dragon does have the Terrorgeist, but he is no match for the Greater Demon of Khorne. SKARBRAND, probably one of the scariest duelists in the entire game. 104 weapons rank, 713, and at that point, Hadri's knew it was over because Manfred was like 2 hits away from dying with 2 cultists there, and we were ahead by about 4,000 value. So GG, well played. Fun one. We're both kind of experimenting a little bit. He said he was just learning vampire counts, so he was just trying to get familiar with the faction and whatnot. And obviously, the patch had just changed a lot. So the efficacy of the double Necromancer and, magic spam might not be as good as it once was after the changes. Maybe you want to do like Blood Dragon, somebody who's a little bit more combative to get in there and fight. Who knows? But overall, I really like this build. I loved it. I felt like everything was kind of like worked very smoothly. And here are the reinforcements. So we do have the Exalted Bloodletters. So if there hadn't been like a Winds of Death, or like I knew it was late game and my opponent was low on wins, that's when you summon in one of these guys to just like clean up everything. Right, but the double cultists are great. I like them. I think they're a really good unit. And that's going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Taking a look at Manfred, he got about 1,500 value despite all that. But the rest of the Vampire Count army really struggled, right? Like the Blood Knights got wrecked by the Sword of Khorne, and the Sternsmen also, I think, just got trash canned. Yeah, they got 600 value, which isn't bad. GG. See you guys next time. That's it for today. And ladies and gentlemen, blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne.